What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Asian MMA Podcast, where we talk about everything and anything going on in the world of Asian MMA. This episode is brought to you by excessive and overreaching use of corporate lawyers. I'm Dana Blouin, and this episode is a departure from the norm. I had a chance to sit down with the most active fighter in Asian MMA, Will Chope. Will recently had a dust-up on social media with the CEO of One Championship, Chatri Sityodtong, over a post Will penned about the lack of drug testing in Asian MMA and his opinion on one's policies. Chatri would go on to say he agreed with most of what Will said in his post right before sending his staff out to get Will's contact info and having one's corporate lawyer send a letter threatening to sue him if he didn't take the post down. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's get right into the interview. Will Chope, thank you for joining me on the Asian MMA Podcast, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late at night.
No worries at all. Stoked to be here. Thanks, man.
So, obviously, I wanted to have you on. One, you're just a really active, well-known fighter here in Asia, but recently you got a lot of international attention for a Facebook post. Do you mind to talk about that a bit?
Oh yeah, which was it was funny. These two former ONE FC fighters, Nick Harris and Arnaud Lepont, was sharing an old. Yeah, they're sharing an old article. I think it was from the Body Lock about ONE FC is going to start doing drug testing at the beginning of 2009. The article was from January, but they were recently sharing in it, and I was like, guys, why the fuck are you guys sharing this? This is it's a bullshit article. They haven't done any drug testing as far as I know. And then I shared it on my personal page, and I was just like, guys, the title's misleading. It's not true. They haven't done any drug testing up until I've known, even though they said they've done it, but we all know that because after then anyways, I made a post about it, and then but I didn't even put it on my fan page. I put it on my personal page, and a lot of people, I know a lot of listeners probably don't know, but on my personal fan page, I don't even have my name. I have my Chinese name with Chinese characters, and I do that for it was just for my personal vent and rant. But of all people, Chatri commented on it and
said he agreed with you.
Yeah, he said he agreed. He said he didn't disagree with everything, but he agreed with most of what I said, and that he would like to talk to me and have a beer sometime or whatever, and kind of clear the air or whatever. And then I just ignored his comment. I did edit it because some people because later after he sent me that, or after he posted the comment, literally within not even 24 hours later, I got a email from the ONE FC lawyer staff that they asked me they said they could sue me for libel and for slandering them because of my post after he commented, which I thought was crazy, and then
was crazy.
Yeah, and then I shared the email, the lawyer email, and I was trolling a little bit by hey, do I have any friends who are lawyers? Ha ha ha, that can give me some advice. And but actually I did get some legit advice because actually ONE FC, I don't think they could sue me. They wouldn't win in America or even I don't even think it's Singapore, but in Thailand the libel laws are pretty fickle and crazy, and because Chatri's a Thai, and because they have way more money than I do, also, that they could probably sue me in Thailand and make my life difficult in Thailand.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, but which is weird too, because I was later talking to some other people. I didn't make the post while I was in Thailand because I'm in Singapore right now, and I don't know how that would work legally, anyways. But whatever, it was too much of a headache. I did try to edit my thing to make it more politically correct, but anyways, even with that, I just ended up deleting the post in general because I just thought it was going to be more hassle than it was worth. But
well, we're very fortunate that in the internet age, once you put something out there, it is out there forever. So everyone has seen this post, has seen Chatri's reply, and has seen the letter because you were kind enough to share it with us. One of the crazy things I thought about Chatri's comment, other than the fact that he says, I agree with most of what you say, there's a few errors, but he says he doesn't want beef. He ends it and he says, I wish continued success to you and your family. One of the interesting things was, I don't know if you heard my podcast episode about the conflict of interest with Evolve and One Championship.
Yeah.
But So he sent me these series of, personal messages on WhatsApp, because we have exchanged messages in the past. I mean, and honestly, for the most part, he's been a pretty accessible guy to me up until that point. But he was just like, look, I'm really upset. I thought we were friends. He goes on and on. But the very last thing he writes is, I wish you and your family continued success. Yeah. And apparently what he means by that is, I'm going to sue you.
Yeah, it's it's such a weird thing to even mention my family too. I don't like when people do that, because we know Asia, like there's almost like an undertone threat to that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's not cool. Like, you threaten me all you want, but don't say my family. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I don't know. But the American in me gets upset about that kind of shit. It takes that shit personally.
I 100% hear you, man. I 100% hear you. One of the things that I found interesting is that you've actually had a very long and actually very active career. I know you kickboxed in China over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I just fought last Saturday. I lost though, unfortunately. Second time.
But kickboxing, right?
Yeah, kickboxing, yeah.
Yeah, you fight essentially any discipline, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, just like, because if I only fight MMA, there's not enough MMA fights to stay busy, and I won't make enough money if I just fight MMA. So I gotta fight Muay Thai, I gotta fight K1, I gotta literally anything that comes my way, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna fight. And the money's a big deal, but like it's just I just want to stay busy and make my living this way. Like I don't want to work a real job. At the end of the day, I'm actually kind of lazy. I don't want to work a normal job. So I'd rather fight all these other styles and get paid that way and make my living that way than coach full time or have to get a normal job or something,
Yeah, no, and I think all the fans in Asia appreciate you for that. But one of the things that I don't think you've ever fought for one, right? If I look at your record.
Oh no, never.
I know you fought for Mima. I know you fought Matty Polino and Mima, right?
Yeah. I fought Matt Polino, or I fought Mima once, which at that time Mima was still kind of cool with ONE FC, although they're not now. But
No, not at all.
Yeah, at that time they were still like kind of friends or doing co-promotion and all that.
And I remember that was actually season 1. I think those were the only pro fights they ever had for Mima, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that was season 2. They had pro fights on the season 1 and the season 2. But yeah, that was season 2. Yeah. And after that, they didn't do any other pro fights that I know of. Yeah.
No, I got involved with Mima in season 3, and there was they did the Mima R thing on the boat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Those are pro fights.
Yeah.
Most of those were pro fights, at least. But yeah, so I mean, you've never really had a relationship directly with one. And so it's kind of odd, just because you've been so active and you've kind of been at that upper echelon, especially in Asia, for a long time.
Well, like I've talked with like Matt Hume actually before. So I signed with the UFC at the end of 2013. I was on a 14-fight win streak, and then that was when I went. But it was actually a few months before I signed with the PXC. At that time in 2013, I got an offer to fight for one championship, but but a lot of people don't know the contracts are like 32 pages long. There's all this legal language, but they think I'm just gonna like put my name on, like look at the money and just sign it. But I read everything, of course, like any smart person should do. And there was a lot of problems I had with the contracts. Like there was an expiration date. There was no guarantee of like how many fights I'll have. There's a lot of things I wanted to change, and I went back and forth with Matt Hume, and they changed some things that I wanted to, but then some things that I didn't ask them to change, they changed those too. So like every single time they sent the contract back and forth, like they were changing shit, and I reread the whole thing again, and I was like, guys, you're playing games with me. You're trying to sneak stuff in there and think I'm not going to notice. And then basically I called Matt Hume out for that at that time, and then I didn't talk to Matt Hume again, and then that was the end of my relationship with ONE FC as far as ever going to fight for them,
For sure. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, because not everyone is ingrained in like the whole scene in Asia, but Matt Hume's an executive with ONE Championship. For a long time, he was their matchmaker. I don't know if he still holds that specific role, but he's also Demetrius Johnson's coach.
Yeah.
I think anyone who's a fan of the UFC knows that. And he holds this executive level position with ONE as well, and sways quite a bit of influence over fighters.
Yeah, but like it was like going back and forth with them, and I just felt like they were he was really, in my opinion, he's really dishonest with me, and really they were trying to pull a fast one with me, like with how they're going to sign. And this is actually like what I told a lot of people is actually about the steroid article on WADA and all that stuff, the World Anti-Doping Agency, and one championship's relationship with them. I don't actually care about
non-existent
that.
relationship.
Yeah, their non-existent relationship, which we found out actually through all this stuff that came up. I don't really care about steroids in Asian MMA. I actually my beef is with one championship is the way they do their contracts, the way they lock in tons of fighters all across Asia into these exclusive contracts. They give them one fight, they put them on a shelf. Most of the guys are locked in contracts to never fight again, and ONE FC won't release them. And that's my problem with one championship, actually, because a lot of those fighters are my friends, are people I know personally, and they're just like guys who are kind of stuck, and that's my beef with one championship, to be honest.
Yeah, there's been quite a few people who have really complained about that. And I know there was a few Westerners who were living here in Asia who were signed to them and unhappy, and they end up essentially just moving out of Asia and sort of running their mouths to the point to force ONE to have to release them. But I know quite a few people have had that same issue, and I've seen the contracts for ONE, the new ones even. They're not much better now than they were when I first saw them a few years ago.
The money's gotten, I guess, a little bit better for some people, but some people are still locked into those old contracts from a few years ago, and it's like
a few $100 to show, a few $100 to win.
People think I'm making that up. Like, there's some fighters on one championship that make $500 to show, $500 to win, or $750. This is one Warrior Series included, not just one championship. And people think I'm lying or I'm just slandering them or making it up. But like, I've seen the contracts, I've seen the fighters. I'm not going to name them because I'm not going to throw them under the bus. But it's like, I'm not making this up, guys. Like, So I don't know.
I know fighters who were a big draw in their home country here in Asia, signed to ONE on long-term contracts, who had I think it was like a 7-7 contract.
Oh, like
with no expiration date.
Yeah, the no expiration date. Now these new contracts, they can freeze. If you ever turn down a fight, they can freeze your contract until you say yes to the next fight, and they can freeze your contract. Which is crazy that's even legally allowed. They can freeze your contract. So if you have a 2-year expiration date, but if they can freeze it in the middle of it, and it prolongs people's contracts. Like the thing is, what I learned about MMA, like, because I've promoted a couple shows before, and I worked as a manager before for fighters, especially when Legend FC. I'm not sure if Legend FC just came back, but back in the day when Legend FC was doing shows in Macau and Hong Kong, when the two original owners of Legend FC were going to sell Legend, what actually made Legend FC valuable was not the content. It was actually the fighter contracts. Like, who did they have signed to their organization? Who was still on exclusive contract? So they blocked a few fighters from going to the UFC. Bae Myung-ko, a Korean fighter, and Bae Myung-ko was the famous one that got blocked from fighting in the UFC and by Legend FC at the time when they were trying to sell, because having him as a contractor fighter made them more valuable. And me personally, what I think ONE Championship is doing is trying to get all these fighters locked in these contracts, and they have a huge roster, and that's what makes ONE Championship more valuable than all their free content, for example.
Yeah, all their super free content. And actually, I've seen recent contracts from some of the fighters in ONE who showed me their contract that stipulates, I guess, that the fighters have to promote ONE sponsors regardless if they're paid by them or not. So you're essentially taking away the bargaining power of a fighter who, most of them, I mean, in the game, most of these guys are making their money from sponsors and promotions and things like that, not from the promoter themselves. It's, the hustle they're putting in outside of the cage to get the cash, and ONE's essentially requiring them to do it for free.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's one of my close friends, actually, this was a few years ago. He had a sponsor, and when you fight for ONE Championship, you have to tell them your sponsors, and even they ask you how much you're getting paid by your sponsor. And I told my friend he was stupid to even put the money down, to show him how much he was getting paid, because I would just lie about that. I'd be like, oh, they're just giving me free merchandise or something. But he wrote a beer company down, and he told him how he was getting actually quite a bit of money from ONE Championship. Said, no, you can't represent the beer company. We're Asia, martial arts, blah, blah. Said it was not good for the brand. But then later, that company said One Championship contacted them to try to contact the beer company to ask if they would want to sponsor, do a bigger package, and actually and then sponsor the show.
That's cold.
That's cold as hell, man. And it's like, man, you're actually directly hurting the fighter. First of all, he didn't make that money originally, and then you're trying to go around him and then contact his steal a sponsor directly, and then anyways, luckily the beer company they didn't play ball. They're like, oh, that was really low of them, and thought that was unethical business practices, and so they turned him down. And so yeah, but this is what and I've heard rumors about One Championship doing this to other show sponsors in Asia as well, going after other promotion sponsors aggressively, and they're trying to hamper the competition around Asia, that way.
I've heard that as well, and I've heard that from the companies that one has gone to.
Yeah, and it's like a cutthroat. I know it's a cutthroat business, but Jesus Christ, they're hurting the sport though, It's I don't know. At least that's my opinion. So.
It's strange, Will, because a lot of people don't see this side of it. I think in the U.S. there's a bit more transparency, and the press is holding the UFC or Bellator much more accountable. There seems to be a real lack of that here.
Well, they got a lot of these websites here based in Asia. They pay those journalists to basically run PR for them. I've heard about that. For a good example is AsianMMA.com. Didn't really run.
Not related to the Asian MMA Podcast.com.
Yeah, not well. It was funny. They're not. They wouldn't run PR for One Championship, and then One Championship got this other guy to start a website called AsianMMA.com. Same thing. I don't think they're related to.
Not related to the podcast.
Not related to the podcast. and it's almost a copy of AsianMMA.com. Except for it's AsianMMA.com, and it's all promoting One Championship. And every now and then there's a middle story promoting another show, to make it look like a legit site. But it's literally just a copy of AsianMMA.com. It's like, man, it's pretty crazy, man. Man.
That's how they run it, though. I mean, that's how they play. It's dirty. It's down in the mud, right? They're just trying to get eyes or control this story, control the spin. And I personally find it crazy.
As Trump would say, fake news, you know what I'm saying? So
maybe Chachi's playing 3D chess with Trump and the spin masters.
I don't want to give him that much credit though. But maybe.
For sure.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's this big crazy thing though, and I think a lot of people were blown away when you posted the letter. And I heard from at least 4 different people that one staffers reached out to them asking for your email.
Yes,
the day of the post.
Even some of my friends and or who I thought was friends, I consider friends still, I guess. And Osmond, for example, she works with One Championship, and she contacted me and she was asking me to tell me I should delete it. She tried to make small talk. But then she talked directly about the post and told me I needed to delete it, and that I had so many things wrong and blah 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 about it, and then she told me she's
not according to her boss.
And then she said, I don't know, this might get out of hand if you don't delete it, Will. And I was like, yeah, what does that mean? What do you mean? I was like, yeah, I'll take that risk, And then sure as shit, literally, not even 10 hours later, I got the lawyer email, and then yeah, it was kind of nuts. Michelle.
So they sent your friend to strong arm you.
Yeah, and then they had this lady. Was it Michelle or one of the girls who does the PR for One Championship?
Tammy?
No, I don't think it's Tammy. There's another. Well, it might have been Tammy. Was it Tammy? I forget. I have to look up Facebook.
Tammy, Ingrid, and Kwong that I know.
Oh, I think it was Tammy then. Yeah, there's one of the girls. She messaged me about. And then asking me for my phone number, that they wanted to talk to me. And I straight up told her, I was like, look, if you guys are going to send threats on the phone, I was like, I can't record my phone call. So I was like, I'd rather you can email me. Here's my email, or or you can contact me on Messenger. And they're like, okay. So yeah, I was legit worried.
No, it was the same thing after I published the podcast about One and Evolve. Lauren Mack, I believe he's vice president of PR, started blowing my phone up, and I was about to board a flight. I was like, dude, I'm busy, but if you want to have a phone conversation, I was like, let me schedule it with my attorney, and we can all jump on a call together, and we can do that.
Yeah.
And they just stopped emailing me.
It's crazy, man. And like, what was I gonna say? Man, this isn't the first time. Like, it's funny how because you got some beef talking about the conflict of interest between Evolve and One. My first time ever talking to Chatry was in 2012. I remember I was like a loudmouth kid. I didn't really have a great record, and I was much more loud on social media to try to get fights in different promotions. And I actually wanted to fight for One way back in 2012. And I remember I was trying to call Mitch Chilson back in the day when he was still fighting. He fought one of my teammates. He fought Kai Chi, and I thought it was a mismatch, and they did it on purpose. And I was calling One FC Evolve FC, and I tagged Chatry, and I tagged Mitch Chilson, and then Chatry sent me a message, and I don't know if he remembers. He sent me a message. He sent me a gruesome message, and yeah, it was crazy. And that was my first actual one-on-one talk with Chatry. It was after I was trying to call out Mitch Chilson. It was back when Chael Sonnen was really famous, and I was trying to be like a Chael Sonnen of Asian MMA and try to call people out, like it'd be like the American gangster, so to speak. And and then Chatry didn't like it. He just and I didn't really think. And like me as a kid, I was like 21 years old. I didn't really think it was that bad. I was just trying to get fights, And I was just like, Jesus Christ, why are you sending me this kind of message? And I was like, yo, sorry, bro. I was actually legit scared then. Now I've learned, that's just the way they do. That's the way they talk to people that's how they
standard operating procedure, man. Yeah. Standard operating procedure.
Yeah, it's nuts.
The whole thing is, that they had people reaching out to you is just, to try to pressure you to take it down. And then when that didn't work, they send the letter. Is just like, what do you think when you first opened that?
Oh, when I saw the letter, I was like, I'm just going to post this letter. It's going to make the story. I'm going to get more shares now. Like, come on, guys. Like, you guys are not. I don't think they definitely didn't expect me to share the letter.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, whatever. Like 24 hours later, I ended up deleting it anyways. But like I said, internet got screenshotted. It was on a few articles. I talked to a few journalists about it. It was all on Reddit and stuff. I thought that was funny.
Reddit, it will live forever, man.
Yeah.
That will never go away.
Yeah. So they just brought more attention.
It's unfortunate though, because like the way the news cycle works, it drops off, and it's not until they do something again where it spikes up.
Oh, that's like, I was hoping that it wouldn't drop off. Like I actually want, like, One Championship can help Asian MMA grow, and it would be nice if they're like, if they are successful, if they do make money, and they do like treat the fighters right. Like, I want that. Some fighters are really happy with their contracts. Like Ev Ting, for example, loves, like, he's cool with One Championship. Martin Nguyen is, I'm sure he's really happy with One Championship. But there's a lot of fighters that are just like that. The majority, I would even say the majority of fighters are not, in my opinion, have good contracts. Like, and I want them to like do well and treat the fighters right. I want there to be some transparency. And I hope the fans and people will hold them accountable, so they have to become transparent,
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm so frustrated by One because they could be such a powerful force.
Yeah, they could be so good, but yeah. But unfortunately.
Now they're talking about going to America, and I don't even see how that's going to work from a logistics perspective. Like, they have their own officials, their own judges. There's no way they get brought onto a commission in the States.
Yeah, because unless they go to an Indian casino, you know what I mean? So
even then, man, I don't know.
They could technically go to Indian casino, I guess, but even then, that would be really weird. Like, are they do these great big shows in Singapore Indoor Stadium, then they're gonna go to Indian casino in America just to have their own officials and self-regulate? Like, that would be pretty weird. And I would hope they would call them out for it, So.
One Championship U.S. in Montana or something, yeah. Or like Boise, Idaho.
That'd be kind of cool. My family's in Idaho, so. But yeah. But Jesus.
But you know what I mean? It's such a different world. I know that they've sent Lauren Mack back to the U.S. to work on this. I've seen his posts on LinkedIn that That's essentially his primary function at this point, is getting one championship to the U.S. for 2020. But like, I don't know, none of their officials are qualified really to be MMA officials under a legitimate commission in the U.S. Their practices, their lack of transparency on weigh-ins, the lack of transparency on their, as you pointed out, their so-called drug testing, all these things are red flags.
Yeah, like they just, like, their weigh-ins need to be filmed, Like, if you want to self-regulate, you got to do it publicly. And that's fine.
Yeah.
You can self-regulate, but do it publicly. And if you're not going to do it publicly, then don't be mad when people try to call you out or accuse you of cheating, basically. Accuse you being biased, And that's what they're getting mad at me for. I'm accusing them of being biased, but it's not. It's because they haven't proved otherwise, in my opinion. They're not, you know what I mean? So.
Like the whole thing with overturning decisions or even like some of the really questionable decisions that I've seen from their judging, and also their whole scoring criteria won't fly in the U.S.
No, like they have to use the commission judges. They have to use the commission. Like, they got to go through the commission if they go to America. If they want to go to a legit stadium in America, especially. Like, who knows? Maybe they can bribe it. I don't know. Maybe they think they can bribe one of the state athletic commissions. I'm not going to say it's out of the realm of possibilities, but it would be really, really hard to do that in America. And I think if the UFC doesn't do it, that means it's probably not possible. And big boxing ain't doing it.
And also, the second they have an evolved fighter on a card where the same person owns the gym and the promotion, all types of red flags are going to go up.
Yeah, that's like, how does that people don't see that's a conflict of interest? But if Chowry says that the best gym in Asia is Team Lakai instead of Evolve, then people think he's non-biased, But no, he's still the owner of Evolve. He still has all these superstars even a fighter is not an Evolve fighter, but as soon as they become a superstar in one, they get invited to come to Evolve.
Sage Northcutt walked out in an Evolve T-shirt. Demetrius Johnson represented AMC Pancration and Evolve in his fight.
What was it? The Chinese girl, the Panda? Panda? Yeah. Now she was at Bali MMA for a while. She was in China, and then she's at Bali MMA. Now she's at Evolve. And it's like, that's what. Come on, that's pretty weird. Come on, guys. Like, what? Like, it's like if Greg Jackson owned a huge stake at the UFC. Like, people would be talking shit, That's basically what's going on, guys. Like,
yeah,
like it's going on with Matt Hume and with Evolve. Like Matt Hume's gym with, and whatever. I'm just a hater.
No, I mean, it's legitimate questions. And like I said, everything could be on the up and up. Everything could be legitimate. But because of the lack of transparency, we have no way to know.
Right. But, man, so like I said, one thing I'm actually happy about all this stuff, even though I got the legal threats and all that, is somebody actually, one of the journalists contacted WADA, and they actually found out WADA has not been talking to One Championship. They have no deal. One Championship's not a signatory of WADA, and so that's one good thing. So that's huge in my opinion. Like, you guys haven't even talked to WADA. Like,
I think that was Body Lock that broke that story. Actually,
it was this other journalist, and the Body Lock was the second one to follow up. I forget, Christopher.
Okay.
Yes, it was the two articles posted about it. Yeah.
Now, you had posted something in your original post about One's official doctor.
Oh, so and it's funny because I actually like the guy. He's a Taiwanese doctor. His name's Warren Wong, and he's been working with the One Championship for a while. And this was just a rumor that I heard, but it was it was from pretty good sources, and it was like it was kind of an accident that I ended up overhearing this, that apparently because Warren owns a clinic in like an actual clinic in Taiwan, and that they were gonna somehow get his clinic affiliated to be a WADA clinic, and that they could send their drug, like the urine samples, to his clinic in Taiwan, and that was how they would do drug tests. But I was like, wow, that's another thing. That's all kinds of red flags. Like, you can't have a guy like Warren, who's been working with One Championship for years, drug test the fighters. Like, that's conflict of interest, and like, you got to get a third party that's separated from him, to do it. But because I can't imagine that would be
I can't imagine WADA would sanction something like that.
Well, the thing is, like,
just based on what I know about the testing.
Well, WADA doesn't do the testing. WADA has affiliate labs, and if your lab becomes an affiliate lab or becomes an approved lab by WADA, it's not really oversaw by WADA. It's already like it's like you have a license, you're a WADA licensed lab, and now that WADA licensed lab does a test for this organization, they're doing WADA testing now, and this isn't happening yet, by the way, but this was all like apparently what could happen or what's going to happen, apparently. But we there's no news about it, so we don't know for sure yet. And I'm pretty sure, and actually it was funny in Chatry's post in his comment, he was saying, "Oh, this is all new territory. These are all new countries. There's no commissions. We're breaking into new territory. So we bring in people like Rich Franklin, Olivier Coss, such and such." And then he actually mentioned Warren's name. He said Warren Wong to get professional help and to be legit, And I'm like, it's funny that you mentioned Warren because nobody knows who Warren is actually, and but in Chatry's comment he actually mentioned Warren. So I thought, yeah, that just made me that just proved to me that I was like spot on, or I was getting close to the truth. You know what I mean?
It is. I mean, it's a precarious situation though when you look at it, because what he's saying isn't false. There are no commissions, so that they are self-regulating. I just think people like you, people like me, anyone else clued into the sport realizes that they're sort of doing it with a 100% lack of transparency.
Yeah, and as long as people know that, and if they're okay with that, I guess people are okay with that. But people are not okay. Like James Gordon will write an article, and then like everybody's like, "Oh no, see, they are being transparent, they are being legit, or they are doing the right things." I'm like, no, that's James Gordon writing an article. He works for one championship, like, you know what I mean? So, whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, those are the types of things that I think one of the things that I've noticed a lot, and just because of my relationship with the sport in Asia, once as a referee for many years, and as a podcaster. I won't call myself a journalist, but as a podcaster and someone who intermingles with a lot of that community, is that there's quite a bit of shadiness on the media side as well.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of underhanded and kind of shady deals going on.
Oh, yeah. If a promotion gives some journalists some free tickets and a hotel room and maybe $100 or some spending money, all of a sudden that journalist will do everything for that promotion. Not saying that happens, but it
low barrier to entry.
Yeah, not saying that happens. I'm not going to get accused of libel again, or slander. But guys, Asia's kind of crazy. A lot of shit's not regulated. There's not a lot of there's nobody really holding people accountable, unfortunately, and it's these wild card fighters are like the stupid journeyman like me who just runs his mouth a little bit too much, who shed some light on this,
So I guess you've given up any hopes of actually signing to one at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no way I'm going to fight for one. And also because now that they're doing kickboxing, professional boxing, and Muay Thai, the new contracts now, but back in the day, if you fought for one championship, you were just MMA exclusive. But you couldn't fight 2 months beforehand, but I could still fight other stuff. But nowadays, if you're exclusive completely, you can't fight boxing, you can't fight kickboxing, you can't fight anything else. So I don't ever trust one championship to give me more than one fight. If I signed with them, they'd probably give me one fight, and then I'd probably get put on a shelf and then go bankrupt and then have to, get a real job somewhere or something like that. I will never put myself and my family in that situation. And I would probably make, if one championship gave me regular fights, 3-4 fights, I would make more money than fighting 12 times a year for these other small shows. But I'm not going to take that risk. I'd rather fight 12 times a year than trust one championship, to be honest with me. So,
and I mean, you're the type of fighter, you're really kind of a fan's fighter because you're so active. Now with their new format, they do shows almost every week. I mean, there's a few weeks here and there where they miss, but like you said, they're doing boxing, K1 rules, Muay Thai rules, MMA, who knows what else they'll have in the future.
Yeah.
Someone like you who fights across all the disciplines would do fantastic.
Man, I think I'd be the only one. And it's funny, I actually talked to Bashir, I think a year ago about this. I'm like, hey, I have a pro boxing record on BoxRec. I have fought K1 and Muay Thai as the highest level. I just fought literally this weekend. I lost, but I fought the number 1 ranked kickboxer at 80 kilos in China. I don't fight at 80 kilos. I'm a lightweight, actually. For people that don't know, I fought Max Holloway at featherweight. I fought at 80 kilos, and I lost, but I fought at the highest level. And I fought in MMA. I fought Max. I fought all these things. You would think that they could promote me and that I could, but hey, whatever. It's okay. I don't need one championship. Or I don't need the UFC either. Whether the UFC or one championship or whoever doesn't want me to fight, I'm going to fight regardless. Even if it's in China, or even if it's for these other shows, I don't care. So
how do you like fighting in China? Because you're actually pretty active there.
I have a pretty okay fan base there. I've coached in China, and I get all the information I need to. Anytime I fight somebody, back in the day, it used to be oh, you're gonna fight a Chinese guy, and that was it. That was all the information I had. Nowadays, I get their name, I have their record, I can do all the research. My former students in the gyms that I used to work at, I still have good relationships with. They look it up, they send me all the videos, they tell me exactly who I'm fighting, and I'm okay with it now. In China, still they pay better than almost every other show, except for I would say Ryzen, Road FC, and One Championship. They pay better than every other show besides those 3. So I can't complain too much.
It's not bad company to be in, yeah.
Yeah, it's still I'm at a disadvantage. I better win. I better win. I better finish my opponent if I want to win, guaranteed win. But it's hard to win decisions in China. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of unfavoritism, but man, they pay for my hotel, they pay for food, they give me allowances, they take care of me when I'm there, so I can't complain too much,
Making a living.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's all we can ask for.
All right, well, Will, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to me. Thank you so much. Hopefully, this raised your profile a little bit. Maybe with some Western promotions, you start to get a little bit more exposure, fight a little bit more. I don't know if you can fight more frequently than what you actually do now, but hopefully you get bigger fights.
Yeah, I definitely hope so. But at the end of the day, all I want actually is I love Asian MMA. And that's why I have a big mouth about it. And I actually would like One Championship to do well. I just want them to be I want them to be transparent. I want them to be honest and upfront and treat their fighters, the smaller fighters, the no-name fighters that are on contract that have been put on the shelf. I want them to get either released or treated better. That's all I actually want. And I hope the fans would hold One Championship accountable, because there's not many people in Asia doing that. So
very true. I hope so too. I hope that accountability does become, and transparency becomes a much bigger part of their business model. Will, for anyone who's listening, who's not following you that wants to, where can they find your information?
Facebook, Will the Kill Chope. You guys can message me, talk to me, anything. You guys can, if you have any questions, you can ask me, or Instagram at Asia Will the Kill.
Awesome. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, bro.